For a moment, putting aside the operational agencies, I want to focus on advocacy groups, local, regional, and national. So advocacy in the sense that they are advocating on behalf of the hungry, in this case, the hungry poor. They typically can be faith-based or not. Some of them are community-based and not necessarily faith-based. An example of a faith-based organization that is a US advocacy group nationwide would be Bread for the World. Based in Washington, D.C., it advocates on behalf of the hungry and poor in the US. And they're primarily focused on influencing public policy, which in this case is US government policy concerning the hungry poor. Churches and religious institutions then throughout the country work at the local, regional, and national level, and that would be the predominantly Christian groups in the country, but then also Buddhist, Hindu, Islamic, and the other smaller religions in the country. Faith-based groups and or community-based groups, which may or may not again be faith-based, can also be operational. So they're not only advocacy groups, they might primarily be known as advocacy groups, but many of them also could run soup kitchens or food banks. For example, many soup kitchens in various communities are run by local churches. Food banks tend to be national. There's an organization called Feeding America, which is the umbrella group. There's virtually a food bank in every county across the country. And they are secular again and come under the umbrella of Feeding America. So they're not faith-based. Many of them also have community service and outreach programs in terms of assisting with nutrition and perhaps housing loans, Habitat for the Humanity groups like that who help with shelter. They're all related. And again, some can have faith as their motivation in terms of being involved. Some are simply involved because it's the right thing to do, and they feel it's important for their community. Secular non-faith-based groups, and a few examples would be the Hunger Project, which is based in New York City. They are focused on hunger worldwide. They're based in the US, but they work worldwide, simply raising awareness about issues of hunger, again trying to influence international public policy. Alliance Against Hunger is a consortium of groups in the US based in Washington, D.C. Virtually all groups involved in any aspect of hunger from an operational advocacy side are members. One is another group based in the US, but also with offices throughout the world that is focused on debt relief, ending hunger, malaria. Again, very much focused on building advocacy, educated advocates to end these problems, to address these problems through public policy action. Then you have the advocacy groups who have operations as well, local, regional, or national. Again, it depends. Another example would be Stop Hunger Now, which is a group based in North Carolina. They package food in very labor-intensive types of system where they have like an assembly line set up. It's a way of encouraging volunteers and having people work together for a common cause. And they pack food to be, like packages of food to be sent to developing countries for both emergency relief and also development programs. Numana, based in Kansas, is another example with the similar model. And they both, Stop Hunger Now and Numana, travel around the country organizing these, what they call packaging events for churches and different groups and such, so that they can have an activity where they all feel that they're working together as a team to help end world hunger. Campus Kitchens is another example. It's a setup on various campuses. I think there's about 25 of them now across the country, where they glean, is the term, gleaning food from university cafeterias. Leftover food that otherwise is perfectly suitable to eat but hasn't been served is collected by the students, brought to a central kitchen, and then distributed to the hungry poor in their respective communities. There are a number of these around the country. Another example, I mentioned food bank here in Alabama. We have the East Alabama Food Bank that handles 9 counties in the eastern part of the state. And then I've mentioned Feeding America, which is the overall umbrella group of all the food banks throughout the country. secular based, and they basically receive their funding from community resources throughout the country. Many of us know Feeding America by their previous name, known as American Second Harvest.